choices. Last few weeks, we've got to voice what our choices should be. We had an election, and in that election, we got to choose who we wanted to be as our leaders, what laws we wanted to have enacted, and whichever way you voted, that was your choice, and nobody could take that away from you. We had a nominating committee, and in that nominating committee, we chose some people to maybe do some work within the church here, and it's your choice whether you wanted to do those or not. Hopefully, nobody felt pressured in doing any of it, but it was your choice. We're all given choices. Well, I want to tell you a story about a choice somebody made. About 10 years before my mom passed away, her and I were sitting in the living room, and she said she had a confession to make. She said that when she was 15 years old, I already knew this, but when she was 15 years old, she got pregnant. And I was either conceived in the backseat of a car or in a hayloft. She didn't know which. Now, my mom, even at 15 years of age, she was in charge. She knew what she wanted, and she went out and got it. And but now all of a sudden, she wasn't in control anymore. So she had a good friend in school, and her friend told her about this person in Miller that could make it so that her old life was back. She had $20, and it cost $25 to remedy the situation. Well, her friend loaned her the other $5. My mom couldn't obviously ask her parents for the $5. They would have wanted to know why. And as it turned out, my grandmother already knew, so it didn't matter. But my mom got in the car. They lived north of Miller, and I don't know, about 12, 13 miles, something like that. It was 6 miles out to the highway to go south to Miller. My mom got in the car, made her way to the highway, and then she got to the highway and she just sat there. She didn't know why, she just sat there. Some reason she was not able to turn south. Well, after sitting there for a long time, she turned the car around and came back home. And now I'm here. So we never know the full result of our choices that we make when we make them. How many choices have you made already this morning? Well, you've made numerous choices. And most choices, you don't even know that you're really making them. Most of your choices are so automatic that you don't even realize it. When you go into a dark room, what do? You just turn the light on. Do you make a conscious decision to do that? Or is it just so automatic that you just go do it? Take, for instance, when you step off of a curb, which foot do you step off the curb with? When you comb your hair, do you start in the front or do you start in the back? Some of us don't have that decision. Maybe which side? When you take your next breath, when do you do it? When you blink your eyes. Those are all things that you can control, even though after a while you're breathing. If you pass out, your body hopefully will just take over and start breathing on its own. But you can hold your breath, so that's a conscious decision. We are given lots of choices. When we remodeled our kitchen, we had to decide what wood the cabinets were going to be, what type of countertops we were going to have, what type of sink we were going to have, and then you have all of the hardware that goes to the various places. And you had to make a decision on all that, and they didn't just have one or two choices. They have hundreds of choices that you've got to choose from. And Wendy said she wished they only had 3 choices: good, bad, and badder. And so I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that everything that possesses a brain has choice. That's animals, whatever. When a bird builds its nest, does it get direction from somewhere that they build their nest in this area, or do they hunt around and they pick a spot? We had a bird that tried to build its nest on our front overhang, and there was nowhere for the sticks to stick to, and so as soon as the wind came up, it blew it away. So that was a bad decision on that bird's part to try to build a nest there. We had another bird that built a nest, and they didn't build a very substantial nest, and it blew away too. Fish, when they all swim in a big school, are they subject to some preconceived motion or idea or something? Or do they all have free choice of where they swim to? So God gives most of his creation free choice. Now, I also believe that God plays a big part in keeping everything running. And I don't believe that the whole world is like a puppet stage and that God is controlling every little thing. Some people may disagree with that. I do believe God is in charge, but I do believe that he gives things free leeway to maneuver through this world. And I don't know how all that works, but we are going to spend eternity trying to figure that out. So, what if Eve, this is all a bunch of what ifs. What if Eve had not listened to the serpent? How would Eden have turned out? How would the world have turned out? God gave her free choice. He said, don't go near that tree, but he didn't put a wall around the tree preventing her from going there. She had free access to it. But let's even back up further than that. What if, when Satan started making accusations about God, what if the other angels that he tried to coerce into going along with his ideas, what if they had not even listened to what he said, and they said, no, you're wrong, Satan. God is who he says he is, and we should be worshiping him out of love, not fear. Other choices that were made that changed the course of history are, one of them is when Abraham and Lot came to this spot and they had to make a decision. One would go one way and one would go the other. I'll just read that section. It's Genesis 13, 8, 12. So Abraham said to Lot, please let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brethren. Is not the whole land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I will go to the right, or if you go to the right, then I will go left. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as you go toward Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. And Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent even as far as Sodom. So my question is, what if Lot would have chose to go west instead of east? Would Abraham been down there in the plain next to the cities in Jordan? Or did Abraham know the heart of Lot and knew that he was safe in giving Lot first choice, and knowing Lot would choose to go in that area and that he would be given the land of Canaan? I don't know. That's all things that we'll learn in the future sometime. So, we have Daniel, who chose to remain faithful to God instead of going along with the mandates that the king had set up. He chose to eat a plain diet, or having a plain diet, and not eating the king's food. He chose not to bow down to idols. Now, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they also chose not to bow down And they chose to be thrown, they didn't choose to be thrown into the fiery furnace, but they chose not to bow down, and they were thrown into the fiery furnace, but God saved them. That doesn't always happen. And then we have Peter, who made the choice to get out of the boat while it was still in the middle of the water. Which foot did he raise over the boat railing first? Which foot touched the water first? And how did that feel? I have a question. When Jesus walked on the water, did his feet get wet? So, when Peter got out of the boat, he had his eye on Jesus. Was it a conscious decision of which leg to swing over the boat first? Now, these were big boats, so it wasn't like just stepping over. He had to swing over, and then it was probably down to the water a ways. So it might have been both feet at the same time. I don't know. The thing, though, I think, that stayed with Peter throughout his whole life was not which foot that he went over the boat with. It wasn't even the fact that he was walking on the water. That was probably irrelevant. The thing that stuck out in Peter's mind for the rest of his life was the hand that reached down and saved him when Peter took his eyes off of the Lord and he started sinking, and the Lord was there to save him and raise him up. That's what was in Peter's mind. And then we come to a place called Gethsemane. Jesus chose to set his will aside and let the will of his Father take over. And I'll read that, Matthew 26:39. He went a little farther and fell on his face and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." It was at this moment that the battle was won. Jesus would still go through all the physical agony of the cross, but it was here that the spiritual battle was won. Here is where the Creator chose to give up his own life as a sacrifice for me. I believe that we don't live by chance. There is a higher power leading our lives. But at that same time, we are given free choice to make up our own minds. And there again, I don't know how that all works. I know that God can work out the plan. If I choose this way, God will have a plan. If I choose this way, God will have a plan. And he knows that 500 steps ahead of where I am. And so He is so much more awesome than we can ever believe. And he gives us the chance to make our own mistakes, but he also gives us a chance to redeem ourselves from those mistakes that we make. Those that fall under God's grace choose not to believe in Satan's lie that God isn't fair, that he is only out for himself. That was proven in the garden. God is love and cares for each and every one of us. He loves us so much that he gave us free choice to decide for ourselves what is right and what is wrong. He gave us free choice to decide if we want to live for ourselves or be a servant to all. He gave us free choice to decide if heaven is the place we want to spend eternity. And he gave us free choice to love him.